UI. So if you're looking to socially enable your site and not sure where to put all the buttons, use the social bar and you've socially enabled your site with one line of HTML. So we have these like buttons powering the suite of social plugins, hopefully greatly increasing the engagement on your site. Where do the likes go when they make their way back to Facebook.com? As Zuck mentioned, the trend in the industry for the past few years has been around these real-time streams of information, reverse chronological lists of what your friends have been doing recently. It's a really simple interface, but it's limited in a lot of ways. The only people who get to see the things I shared are the people who happen to be sitting in front of their computers for the 3 hours after I click the like button. That might make sense for things like newspaper articles, but if I like a band on Pandora, why does that only have value for the next 3 hours? And in fact, we have an entire section of the profile devoted to music, listing the bands that I like. Why is the bands that I typed into my profile when I joined Facebook 4 years ago, why are they so much more important than the bands I liked on Pandora today? Well, today, they're no longer different, thanks to the second product announcement we're announcing today, which is the Open Graph Protocol. At its core, the Open Graph Protocol is a specification for a set of meta tags you can use to mark up your pages, to tell us what type of real-world object your page represents. So in the case of Pandora, they would use the Open Graph Protocol to say, this isn't just a normal web page. This represents a band, and that band has a name, and it's Green Day. And that band has the genre punk rock, and they're from Berkeley, California. So now this web page, which was previously just a bunch of text, has this semantic markup, so we know what it represents. And because of that, when a user clicks a like button on one of these Open Graph pages, we'll use that semantic knowledge to represent it in really deep ways on Facebook.com. The easiest way to understand this is just to walk through an example. I'm personally extremely excited that as of today, there's going to be a like button on every movie page on IMDb. So if I visit The Godfather on IMDb and I click like, it's going to go to my Facebook stream just like shares do today. But the IMDb is using the Open Graph Protocol, so they've marked up their pages. We know this isn't just any old web page. This represents a movie with the name Godfather, made in 1972. And because of that, this page is also going to go in the movies section of my profile. And it's a first-order object in the Facebook graph. So if my friend visits my profile and hovers over that link, they're going to see not only that it came from IMDb, but they're going to be able to connect to that IMDb page with a like button directly from Facebook.com. And this object is represented on Facebook everywhere objects in Facebook are represented today, from the news feed to the profile page, and even in search results. The Open Graph Protocol is designed to represent any real-world object represented on the internet. Today, we're launching with 30 partners who are using the Open Graph Protocol to connect their graphs with the Facebook graph. And those partners span almost all categories of likes and interests, from books and movies to celebrities and even to athletes. So just as easily as I can connect to a movie on IMDb, I can connect to an athlete on ESPN.com. And those connections have all of the same features as connections on Facebook do today. So tomorrow's the NFL draft, which probably at a tech conference like 3 of you are going to watch, but I'm going to watch it. And Toby Gerhart, who's a superstar running back from Stanford, is in the draft. I'm going to go to ESPN.com and click that like button on Toby Gerhart. And because this connection has all of the same features as connections on Facebook.com, ESPN can publish updates to all of the Facebook users who have connected with this page. So tomorrow, when Toby Gerhart's a surprise first-round draft pick for the Browns, ESPN can send that update to me and everyone else who's connected to Toby Gerhart on ESPN. So it's not just that this object's represented on Facebook.com, but the Open Graph Protocol enables a valuable long-term communication channel between ESPN and the Facebook users who have connected to it. This is a really significant step for Facebook. For years, we've been saying Facebook is an open platform. But for the first time, the likes and interests on my profile link to pages off of Facebook.com. And I'm not just updating my profile when I join Facebook. I'm updating it with like buttons all around the internet. My identity isn't just defined by things on Facebook, it's defined by things all around the web. To date, the web has really been defined by hyperlinks connecting static pieces of content. We think over the next few years that the connections between people and the things they care about will play as big of a part as hyperlinks do today in defining people's internet experiences. And our goal with the Open Graph Protocol is to really accelerate building out that map of connections in a really significant way. And that brings me to our third and final product announcement of the day, which is the Graph API. The Graph API is our attempt to reimagine our core server-side API within the context of this new graph structure that we're all building out together. We've essentially re-architected the Facebook platform from the ground up with simplicity, stability, and this graph structure in mind. The primary design goal of the Graph API is the two debugging tools you should need to develop on the Facebook platform are your web browser and curl. You shouldn't need to download an SDK, and you shouldn't need to read 20,000 lines of documentation to just download a piece of data from Facebook. I agree. In the Graph API, every object in Facebook has a unique ID, whether that object is a user profile, a group, an event, or a fan page. And to download the JSON representation of any object in Facebook, you just need to download graph.facebook.com/ID. You can download the JSON representation of my user profile by downloading graph.facebook.com/btaylor. And the connections between objects in the graph are represented equally elegantly. I'm connected to things all over Facebook. I'm attending this event. I'm friends with Zuck. I'm a member of many groups. To download the connections for an object, you just need to download graph.facebook.com/ID/connection name. So to download my friends, you just download /btaylor/friends. To get the groups I'm a member of, /btaylor/groups. To get all the pages I'm connected with in the Open Graph, you download /btaylor/likes. And this applies for every single object in Facebook. So let's say Facebook launches a new feature next year. We're not going to make you download a new SDK. You just need to download an object with a new ID or download a connection with a new name. All of the code you already wrote will continue to work perfectly. This is a really significant change for our platform, as I'm sure you can appreciate. The new Graph API, though, it's not just a veneer on our existing API. We're launching a bunch of really hot new features. And I think the one I'm most excited about is search. We have over 400 million users on Facebook sharing 25 billion things a month. And for the first time, via the search capability of the Graph API, we're giving developers the capability to search over all the public updates on Facebook. This is a really significant thing. For the first time, if you're making a web page for a brand, you can build a module that says, what are people on Facebook saying about this brand? I think this is going to lead to a bunch of cool new applications, and I'm really personally excited to see what people build with this. We're also baking in real-time directly into the API. Using a technology called webhooks, you can register a callback with Facebook, and we'll ping you every time a user of your application updates their profile, adds a new connection, or posts a new wall post. Today, if you wanted to keep your local copy of Facebook data up to date, you pretty much have to poll our servers 1,000 times a day, which we appreciate as much as you, believe me. Now, you register a callback URL, and we'll tell you when your users update their profiles. This is a huge win not just for developers, but for users. So now, when I update my profile, every application I use that's integrated with Facebook will be updated instantaneously. I think this will be a huge win for users. And finally, we're completely revamping the way authentication works in the platform. Together with industry leaders from Yahoo, Twitter, and Google, we are adopting the OAuth 2.0 standard, which as of this week will be an official IETF standard. So, judging by the applause, I assume you already know why this is cool, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The first reason is it's an industry standard. So the code you write to work against Facebook will work equally well against the other websites who are adopting this standard. And I expect this standard to be pretty widely adopted. The second reason is it's just objectively so much more awesome than our current system. OAuth 2.0 is just simple. The documentation for OAuth on our website is 1 paragraph and 3 bullet points. You can implement it in about 5 minutes, let alone the 5 days that it takes for our current system. And OAuth 2.0 will be available not only for the Graph API, but all of our existing APIs as well. So if you don't want to use the Graph API yet, but you want to simplify your auth system, that works. So before I pass the baton back to Zuck, I just wanted to recap the products we're announcing. First, via the Open Graph protocol, we're enabling Facebook users to connect to objects on the graph, objects on your website, creating for the first time a truly open graph. We're also launching social plugins, which enable you to provide personalized experiences to your users with a single